Good morning, friends. My name is Cindy, and I am one of the children's librarians at the Samuel L. Cohen Children's Library at Portland Public Library. And today I'm back to read you part 3 of Ivy and Bean. It's by Annie Barrows and Sophie Blackall. And when I last left you, we were reading chapter 5, which was called Ivy Hatches a Plan. So we'll start in the middle of that. So let's see. Bean could tell she was lying. Come on, who? Ivy's face got redder. Come on, tell me, said Bean. Ivy looked at the dirt. You, she said in a low voice. Me? Yelped Bean. What did I ever do to you? I'm sorry, said Ivy. She did look sorry. That's okay, said Bean. There was a pause. My mother keeps on saying what a nice girl you are, Ivy said. She's always telling me I should play with you. It's driving me nuts. Bean couldn't believe it. That's what my mother says about you. That's so funny, but you're not nice at all. You're a witch. Ivy giggled. You're not very nice either. You were doing that ghost thing in the bush. Bean was embarrassed. The part about the icy fingers was good, said Ivy. What were you doing in there anyway? Here they are talking, and I'm sorry if I'm going over some of the things I went over last time. Bean sat down on the rock. I was waiting for Nancy. That's my sister. She's a total pain in the kazoo. I put $20 on a string, and I was going to pull it out of her hand when she reached down to pick it up. Ivy nodded. Is that why she got mad at you? No, she got mad at me because it was her $20. Bean felt glum again. Ivy saw that Bean was worrying. Are you going to be in trouble? Yeah, probably. I'm not supposed to mess with her money. Bean thought, you don't have a going back in time spell, do you? No, those are hard, said Ivy. She looked at her pond. I wish I had a dead frog. That would be good, said Bean. But wait a second. What about the dancing spell? Could you put it on Nancy? So she'll dance for the rest of her life? How is that going to get you out of trouble? Ivy asked. It's not, said Bean, but it would be really funny. Chapter 6, Beware. Once they had agreed to cast a spell on Nancy, Bean stared long and hard at Ivy's robe. Those little pieces of paper had to go. The first thing we have to do is make you look more like a witch, she said. Ivy looked down at her bathrobe. Why? Bean tried to explain without hurting Ivy's feelings. If you want other people to believe you're a witch, you have to look more witchy. But I don't care if other people believe me, said Ivy. Bean shook her head. What a weird kid. It'll make your spells better, too. You've got to dress for success. Her mother said that all the time. It usually meant that Bean had to put on clean shirts. Besides, it'll be fun. Do you have face paint? Ivy nodded. In my room, upstairs. She pointed to a window. Is your mom inside? Bean asked. I guess, said Ivy. Is she going to tell my mom where I am? Grown-ups stuck together that way. Bean's dad said it was because they were all in a club together, but Bean felt pretty sure he was making that up. Ivy tapped her wand against her hand. Maybe we should sneak in just to be sure. That was fine with Bean. She loved sneaking. She loved face paint, too. And she was really going to love watching Nancy kick her legs and wave her arms for the rest of her life. They went in the back door to the kitchen. Bean could hear Ivy's mom talking on the telephone somewhere in the house. This is going to be easy, whispered Ivy. She's working. She yelled loudly, Hi, Mom, can I have a banana? Hang on a second, Bean heard Ivy's mom say. Then to Ivy, she said, Honey, I'm on the phone. Get your own banana. There was the sound of a door shutting. Okay, yelled Ivy. She smiled at Bean. See? Very tricky, thought Bean. Ivy was turning out to be a lot more interesting than she had expected. They walked softly past Ivy's mom's door. and up the stairs. There they are. They were very quiet. At the top of the stairs, there was a door with a sign that said, "Beware," in red glitter glue letters. That was Ivy's room. When she went in, Bean stood still and looked all around. "This is way, way cool," she said. She had never seen a room like Ivy's. There were thick lines drawn on the floor, marking out 5 sections. Each section was like a different room. In one section, there was a small sofa on a rug and a bookcase stuffed with books. In another was a table covered with pens and paper and glitter glue and paint. Ivy's bed, with a canopy made of silver netting, was in another. A dresser and a folding screen painted with clouds were in the 4th section. The 5th section had nothing in it except dolls. Bean had never seen so many dolls in her life. There were the regular plastic kind of dolls. There were the weird staring dolls with fancy costumes that were kept in glass cases at the toy store. Would you like to see her room? Look how cool that is. All the different sections and the books, the bed, it looks like curtains, and the desk with all those art supplies. Wouldn't you love that room? That would be fun. There were stiff wooden dolls. There were china dolls, small ones, smaller ones, and tiny ones. There was one doll that was really a rock dressed in clothes. All the dolls were seated around a doll-sized blanket. Even the mushy dolls, baby dolls that couldn't sit by themselves, had been propped up with blocks. In the middle of the blanket lay a Barbie doll wrapped up in toilet paper. All the other dolls were watching her. "Neat," said Bean. "A mummy." I'm going to show you what the dolls look like before I continue reading. Look at all those dolls, and there's the mummy in the center. "Yeah," said Ivy. "I'm going to build a pyramid to bury her in as soon as I figure out how." "I know how," said Bean. "Nancy made one out of sugar cubes last year. I can't believe your parents let you draw lines on the floor." "It's only chalk," said Ivy. "It comes off. I change the lines when I change the rooms. For now, I'm thinking about getting rid of the dressing room and making it into a kitchen." "Is that one the dressing room?" asked Bean, pointing to the section with the dresser and the folding screen. "Let me show you again." It was right up here. See that? "Yeah, I like the screen," said Bean. "But the kitchen is a little bit boring. Maybe you could turn it into a science lab for making potions. The screen could protect your secrets." "A lab," said Ivy, thinking. "A witch's lab. That's a pretty good idea." Bean looked over to the table with the paint and the glitter glue. "What's that one called?" she asked. "That's my art studio," said Ivy. "Here's the idea for the potion room." "Cool," said Bean. "Let's fix up your wand." In Ivy's art studio, there were plenty of sequins and jewels and streamers and pipe cleaners. First, they wrapped the wand with silver pipe cleaners. Then, Bean attached some streamers to the end. Then Ivy put some stickers on. Then Bean put plain glue on the top and dipped it in a jar of glitter. She stuck a big red jewel on the top. The wand dripped a little, but it looked much, much more magic than it had before. "Now," said Bean when that was done, "let's work on your robe." "What's the matter with it?" asked Ivy. "All the stars and moons are coming off. See?" Bean pointed. "It will look better if we draw them on with sparkly markers." Ivy looked embarrassed. I can't draw stars very well." "I can," said Bean. "I'll teach you." Bean showed Ivy how to draw dots for the star points, then connect the dots with lines. Ivy practiced on paper for a while, and then they stretched the bathrobe over the table and began drawing. Here they are, stretching it over the table before they draw. Ivy's stars were a little bent, but they all had 5 points. Soon the black robe was covered with silver stars and gold moons. Once that was done, Ivy got out her face paint. Bean couldn't believe it. The set had 24 colors. Wow, let's do green stripes, said Bean. Or green dots. There were 3 different greens. No, witches are only green in movies, said Ivy. Real witches are just regular colored. But you've got all this great face paint, said Bean. We've got to use it for something. Ivy thought, you can put black around my eyes. Okay, but aren't real witches kind of pale because they mostly go out at night? Asked Bean. I guess, said Ivy, kind of pale, but not green. My mom knew a guy who turned green. It was because he watched TV all the time, said Bean. But she could tell that she wasn't changing Ivy's mind. What if we did all white with black around your eyes, she suggested. I'll show you what it would look like. Yeah, Ivy nodded, with a couple of blobs of red on my cheeks for blood. That's good, Bean agreed. Blood is good. So Bean carefully smeared white all over Ivy's face except her lips. Then she drew red drops down her cheeks. They didn't really look like blood. They looked more like red tears. But that was a pretty scary thing too. Then Bean drew thick black lines around Ivy's eyes. Both girls thought that witches' hats were dorky, so they wrapped Ivy's head in a black scarf borrowed from her mother's dresser drawer. It looked almost like long black hair. Ivy stared at herself in the dressing room mirror. Wow, she said, I look really strange. I'm going to show you again. And she did. Do you think she looks witchy? And the next time I read, I will read the next chapter, chapter 6, Easy Peasy. So I hope you enjoyed this section, folks. I hope you have a great day. Cindy from the children's room at the Portland Public Library signing out. Have a great day.